Well, good morning, everyone. This is Melissa Chambers, and I'm so excited that you're here with me Saturday morning for our part one of our personal development new power training series. We had a wonderful sort of intro last week. We talked high level about personal development, challenged you with some questions, sort of laid out the plan, and so now I'm very, very excited to jump in with you and explore this topic more. So thanks for spending a little of your Saturday with me. I'm also just ecstatic to have with us this morning just an incredible woman. She's been with Nucerity since 2012. She's seen a lot of challenges. She's seen a lot of personal growth in her team, in upline, in herself, and what I love is took that and decided to really, really dive into it, to absolutely push through all barriers, push through any fear, any limiting belief, and she has completed the highest level of training with the Jack Canfield system, the Canfield methodology, and in addition went on to be certified in the Barrett Center from the UK in their PTT certification. I'll let her go into that as well. I just can't tell you how impressed I am and how proud I am and how just thrilled I am to celebrate someone's achievements and growth. And so I absolutely had to have her on the call with us this morning. And I'm talking about Jackie Maffenbeier from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, just a jewel of a person. And so, Jackie, thank you for helping us out today.
Hey, Melissa, do you have me?
I do. You sound great.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. I had to look around behind me to see who you were talking about there, but that was absolutely wonderful. And it is my honor because I love Nucerity. And it was something I never thought I'd get involved in, but it's become my passion and my joy. And when you talked last week about network marketing being an incubator for personal development, it isn't more truer than for myself. And I didn't realize what a journey this would be. And when people talked about the journey, I kept going, what's this journey? Isn't this just a job? Isn't this just like another way of making income? And I've learned that it is so much more. So with that, I am so excited to share some of the knowledge and information that I've been learning about, and this is very exciting to me. And I wanted to actually just check in with everybody because we are doing this as a series and we have been giving a little bit of homework, and I just want to check in with everybody to see how they made out with that. We were doing, last week, we were finding our truth, connecting with your truth, because it is about laying the foundation for our personal development. We have to know where we are. We have to look at every corner. Like you mentioned last week, what are your old tapes? What are the lies you tell yourself about you? What's your favorite flavor of suffering by Tony Robbins? That's awesome.
I love
that.
We all
decide how we want to suffer. What negative habits do you fall back into? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What is one of the hardest times in your life, and how did you get through it? Are you a blamer and a complainer? That's a big one for most of us. And how often do you let fear keep you from taking action? But really, inside of us, when we ask those questions and we see where we are, what gives you the most joy? That's what's powerful. What's your joy meter? And that's what this is about. It's finding our passion. And how do we work our life in with our passion? Are we living our passion every day? So that'll take us to the next slide, Melissa. Take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. You have to act as if. you are 100% responsible for everything in your life. You're creating your experiences, your successes, the quality of your relationships, and your health by thoughts and beliefs. And beliefs are no more than thoughts you've conditioned yourself to think over and over. And we've learned that also from a very, very young age. So the visual images you focus on, that's internally and externally, whatever you're focusing on, the resulting emotions they create, and your actions, and you have total control over all three of these. That's the thing we have to remember, is we have control. So personal responsibility is the key attitude for personal empowerment. It's your full advantage to assume full responsibility for the circumstances of your life, as well as your reactions to these circumstances. And those are some of the key words. It's about our reactions to the circumstances. So without having self-judgment or self-blame, you can focus your attention on understanding yourself and your range of choices that may be possible in any given circumstance. So with this awareness now, you can make educated, intentional choices because we are in control, and it has to be intentional. So when your choices don't result in you getting things the way you thought you wanted them, you can now look back and understand what happened and what action you can take next, rather than looking for someone or some circumstance to blame. So that brings us up to the next slide here. You can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. I love that picture, Melissa.
That's an awesome picture.
And that's, yeah, that's by Jim Rohn. And it doesn't matter, you have to do it yourself. It's about you. Everything we're talking about this in this whole personal development series, it's about you. And it's up to you. And there's a simple formula. So we can go to the next slide. And some of you have seen this before. And I really think we need to stress this because it's the truth. It's the foundation of what everything that we're going to do. And if we can't do this and live by this, and I admit, it's a struggle every day for me because I always have to remind myself. But the simple formula, E plus R equals O. And what that means on our next slide, event plus response equals outcome. So every outcome you experience in life, it is a result of how you've responded to an earlier event or events in your life. If you don't like the outcome you're currently getting, there are two basic choices you can make. So we can go to our next slide. Okay. So we can either blame the event or for my lack of results of my outcome. So the event, for example, could be I didn't get a paycheck this week. And I can sit there and say, well, this doesn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work because the outcome is I didn't get a check. But the event that happened is I didn't pick up a phone and I didn't talk to one person. Now, I have to change my response if I want to get a different outcome. So it's much like we can blame the economy, or we can blame the weather. We can blame, it's because I'm a man or I'm a woman. You can blame your spouse, you can blame your boss, you can blame your coworkers, and so on. So there are many factors that contribute to the outcome. But if they were the deciding factor, nobody would ever succeed. For every reason why something is possible, there are hundreds of other people who have faced the same circumstances and succeeded. So we can't blame the event. We have to take that away. So we can simply instead just change our response to the event, the way things are. So until you get the outcomes you want, you can change your thinking, change your communication, change the pictures you hold in your head, and you can change your behavior. You can break out of your conditioned response to circumstances. You can increase your awareness and change your action. All this leads to a new outcome. Let's go to next slide there, Melissa. So there's only 3 responses you have any control over. And that is your behavior, and that's including what you say and how you say it. It includes your thoughts, and that is your self-talk, and your beliefs, and that's both conscious and unconscious, and your visual imagery. And that's including your images of the future, what you see when you look in the mirror, and what many of us do vision boards, or we set goals. So it includes what you see for the future. So on our next slide, I'd have to give up all blaming of the economy, prices, taxes, Wall Street, President, and I say Donald Trump because I have to work on that every day. Congress, regulators, traffic, weather. Quit blaming your computer systems. I was blaming that this morning trying to get on here today. Iraq, China, judicial systems, your competitors, your board of directors, your managers, your boss, employees, your team, kids, your ex, your parents, or your spouse, or that time of the month. We got to give up all blaming. And on our next slide, we have to give up all complaining. People only complain about things that are changeable. Have you ever noticed that? If we didn't have an idea of what something better looked like, we wouldn't complain about it. If somebody says, oh, I can't take my husband anymore. I need to get out of this situation or have a different husband. Well, if we are complaining about that, we must have an image in our head of what we think a better husband is going to look like. Then the next thing is, people tend to complain to the wrong person. Lots of times when we're at work, we'll end up complaining to our workmates or our teammates about things that are going on at home. Or we come home and we start complaining to our spouses about our bosses or our teammates. Well, really, nobody else, none of those people that we're complaining to can help the situation. If you must complain to somebody, you must complain to the person that you're having issue with. And that is the only way something will get better. So when you complain, it means you have a reference point for something you prefer that you're not willing to risk creating. It takes some courage to change the things that aren't making you happy. And you have to take the risk if you want to change anything. Nothing stays the same if you stay the same. That's a great little quote always. I have it in my office. The next slide is you have to give up all blaming, complaining, justifying, defending, and excuse making. And we're going to start that today, and I'm going to have you do a little exercise. And I love that we have these webinars and that we can go back into our Nucerity University under trainings and then over to corporate training and a section under New Power trainings, because you can either catch up on some of your homework, or because today it might take a little longer, it's something you can come back to. And I just stole that little guideline from Melissa because she gave that information to EJ where to find these New Power trainings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next slide. And you're going to need a piece of paper and a pen, and I'm hoping you already have one. And we're going to do an exercise. And it's called, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for. So the first one is, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for my life and well-being, I'm going to give you a couple examples here, and I'd like you to think about this and write down your answers. So 5% more responsibility for my life and well-being. I would exercise 30 minutes a day. I would only eat fast food 1 time per week. I would meditate more often. I would get more sleep. So go ahead, take a second, and just write those down, some of your things that you would like to take a little more responsibility for in your life. And we're going to go on to the next one. So if I were to take 5% more responsibility for living my passion, I would ask for what I want. I would spend more time writing. I would laugh more. I would schedule more free time. So go ahead, take a moment and just write some of your answers. And the next one I'd like to touch on, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for the attainment of my goals, I would do 5 things a day to get me closer to my goal. I would spend an extra hour a day in action rather than watching TV. I would share my goals with family and friends and ask for accountability. I would do one thing that I have been procrastinating on. Take a moment and write down a couple things that you would take 5% more responsibility on. And the next one is, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for the success of my relationships, I would plan quality time with my kids and put it in my calendar. I would have a date night every week with my spouse. I would talk less and listen more. I like this one. I would keep my agreements and only say yes when I mean it. That's a strong one for me. So go ahead, write down a couple that fit for you. And the next one is, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for the level of my self-esteem, I would ask for what I want. I would take more trainings and seminars to stay positive. I would create a list of my successes and review them often. I would surround myself with positive people. So go ahead and write down a couple that you'd like to see in there and that fit for you. So the biggest thing when we look at these is, it's all great if we sit down and say, oh yeah, I can take 5% more responsibility for this. And we've written it down, so we now have a little goal. But the trick is, when are we going to put it into action? Because no matter what we do, and you're going to hear this over and over and over again, that if we do not take action, nothing's going to change. So I'd like you just to take a second and look at what you've written down, and right beside it, when will I take action on this? What day and what time? And what that does is give you a time limit. And the other thing I'd like you to look at when you're doing that and checking over all the things that you want to take 5% more responsibility for is knowing that it's going to be little steps. It doesn't have to be all at once, but now we have a time, we have a place. You can also write down possibilities of what that next step is to get to being 5% more responsibility and how you're going to do it. Do I need to call a friend? Do I need to take a training? So this is your little homework for next week. And I don't know, Melissa, if we can have people email me or anything, because it's fun to hear what people are doing.
Absolutely.
And what they like. Yeah, so I will stick in my email here if they want to do that. And it's Jackie Motocross, and that's JACKIEMOTOX at sasktel.net, and that's SASKTEL.net. And it's fun to hear it. And I mean, share your wins. And if you're struggling, you know, it's okay to ask for help too. So these are great things. So Melissa, that'll take us to our next slide. And these words I just love. When you think of everything, when you think everything is someone else's fault, you will suffer a lot. When you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you will learn both peace and joy. And that's the Dalai Lama. And it's the truth, Melissa. That's what I think. How do you feel about that?
You know, when we were working on these slides and I saw that, I thought, yeah, that is incredibly powerful. And you know, I can think back in different periods of my life when, you know, I really wanted something to be somebody else's fault, you know, right? I mean, we've all done that. Yeah. It's like, oh, you know, you look back and now you can think, oh, that was an embarrassing moment, right? But at the time, you know, you really want it to be somebody else's fault, and so there's all this anxiety and there's guilt and there's blame, and it doesn't bring out your best character. But then when you stop and you're like, oh, own it and think, wow, I just really didn't have the, you know, the personal tools at the time, the personal knowledge at the time, the, you know, maybe it was maturity, maybe it was just skill sets, but when you realize, nah, that was me, I need to own that, there is a release and a peace and a joy that comes from, wow, I did that really poorly, I can improve, or, you know, I really rocked that, I did step up to that, and I should own that joy and peace as well. And it is powerful, Jackie.
Yep, and that's it. When we finally understand and really believe that it is us, and that it's our choice, because we have the power. It's within us to create whatever reality we want, by focusing our intention or our thoughts only on what we want. And even though we come into roadblocks sometimes, it's just a bump over, or it might put us in a little different direction, but it's how we respond to that event and looking for our outcome. Our outcome we can want, and our goal to get there, it can just be going in a different direction. So when we really live by that E plus R equals O, that changes our lives and gives us new directions. So
hey, Jackie?
That's what I've got for you this week.
Oh, man, it's awesome. Hey, I'm curious if anybody else on the call experienced what I just experienced. So you were going through our homework, and we were writing down, 5% more responsible for, my life and well-being. I'm jotting some things down, and what can I dial up 5% to attain my goals? And I was writing some stuff down, and success in relationships, and I was enjoying the process, and I'm looking forward to spending some more time this weekend, fleshing this out even more, and I'm all happy with the process. But then you said, now write down when I'm going to take action, the day and time, and my stomach went in a knot.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody else, because all of a sudden it was like, oh, holy, whatever. Now I've got to be accountable, and now I've got to actually put some of this into practice. I'm sure somebody else on the webinar, I hope, had their stomach going and not.
You are so right. It is so right, and it's simple to do the easy guidelines. It's simple to write the things down, but when we have to take that step and put it into action and be accountable to ourselves, that's the number one thing, is being accountable to yourself. It's fantastic. I have accountability partners, etc. But you're really disappointing yourself if you don't do what you say. And that's what I really live by, is doing what I say and being accountable to myself and putting that into action. Because, again, I literally am sitting here staring at it, and it says nothing changes unless you do. So I've been in this company almost 5 years, and things don't change unless I do. And my company has changed up and down, sideways, every which way. And trust me, I could have quit, but that wasn't the response that I had to have. I wanted a certain outcome. So I had to make decisions, and I have to put it into action. And that's what this is all about. And it's living the E plus R equals O. And it's not easy. It's always a process.
Right. You're right. It's not easy, but boy, just, I mean, even if people get a tiny glimpse of what the power and the possibilities could be of living a life where the outcomes are actually what you desire, rather than just sort of, fate, right? You leave it up to fate, or you leave it up to other people, or you empower the wrong people, right? Wow, how incredible that could be if the O in that formula, right, was really by our design. That's, I was reading last week something about personal empowerment, and just all on this topic, and they were talking about self-confidence, and that self-confidence, and you nailed it on the head just a few seconds ago about being accountable, and that you have accountability partners, but more important, it's being accountable to yourself, and that when you set those little goals, like you said, the little steps that lead to the bigger steps and the bigger steps, and you achieve them, you're able to, I can look back and I say, okay, I said 5% more responsibility, I was going to do X, and I put that day and a time, and I achieve it. What that does for our self-confidence and our self-esteem, it keeps building, it keeps getting more and more powerful, and you want to become, a self-empowered person that's really, really in control of your responses and your outcomes, then do the work and build that self-confidence.
And that's the truth. And that's the truth. And that's why I love just taking a small, tiny 5% more responsibility, because it's not overwhelming. Because if we just look at the big picture and we don't break it down, it can be overwhelming and we'll never start. And if we can just take 5% more, it's small. These are baby steps. So if I'm going to do 5% more and make that my accomplishment by next week, But next week I can write down, what am I going to be 5% more responsible for today or this week? So that's how we grow. We grow by little 5%.
I love it, love it, love it. I can't thank you enough for just an exceptional training this morning. I love the homework assignment. Challenge everybody to do it. If for some reason you forget Jackie's email, JackieMotox@saskatoon.net, send it to webinars, I guess it's plural, webinars @newcerity.com. That's your fallback plan, and then we'll get it to Jackie. So you've got a couple of options there. I'll download the recording as soon as we conclude this morning, so that'll be in University by Wednesday. Send your teams there if they missed it, because I think this is incredibly valuable information anytime, but particularly here we are at the beginning of the year, trying to change the outcomes. And so get people to hear this recording. Jackie, again, just can't thank you enough. Anything you want to add before we send everybody on their powerful day?
I just appreciate everyone and have a great week, and I look forward to next Saturday.
Awesome. Everybody have a great, great day. I'm so excited about this homework. It's going to stay with me all day long, I know, thinking about little things that, ooh, I could have just changed that a little bit. So you guys have fun with this, and I love it, and we can't wait to have part 2 next Saturday. See you guys then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.